Hello everyone, I'm Nirav Ajmeri. I'm in the School of Computer Science and I'm a lecturer in AI. My interests are in multi-agent systems and intelligent agents, and I'm thinking it from a socio-technical standpoint wherein agents or multi-agent systems can help humans make better decisions. I want to talk about bits about how I understand ethics. And when I'm thinking about ethics, I'm thinking about right and wrong, what is right, what is wrong, and we're thinking about ethics as a field of ethics. We're thinking about systemizing, defending, and recommending concepts of right and wrong. If you think it from classical ethics standpoint, we start thinking about ethos, oikos, and polius. The idea is that ethos talking about good behavior by oneself, oikos talking about good behavior in household, and then carrying on that good behavior in a society. That is my understanding of ethics, and that is where I am starting. Starting from good behavior, often we are thinking about dilemmas, and often when we start thinking about ethics, we start thinking about ethical dilemmas. I have some examples here, but in general, it could be a bed allocation. For instance, who gets a bed, or it could be who gets the vaccine, or where should the ambulance go. So these are the type of resource allocation problems that happen. There could be, say, somebody has a contagious disease. Now, should that be disclosed by the physician? If you disclose, you are not preserving privacy of that patient. But if you do not disclose, the society could be at risk. So then there is a choice to disclose, but not a good choice. A person is ready to be discharged, but then that person does not have a home to go. How would they manage the care afterwards? So what do we do here? Again, choice, but no good choice. And then there could be cultural competence and so on and so forth. So often when thinking about dilemmas, we're thinking about there are choices, but no good choices. Often when we're thinking about ethics, it is not just one AI system making a decision, we're thinking about multiple people involved. So when I start thinking about ethics, I'm thinking about ethics as a multi-party concern and not a single entity concern. And the important thing here is when people talk about ethics, they start thinking about trolley problems, wherein these happen only in hypothetical scenarios. But even in our day-to-day scenarios, we're faced with several dilemmas. So how do we resolve those dilemmas? And that is where I start thinking about how do we operationalize ethics. If I go further, I think people often talk about how AI systems have to be designed, and then we start thinking about AI principles. Broadly, fairness, accountability, transparency, explainability, and privacy, safety, and so on and so forth. So we have been calling these as AI principles, and we are thinking about these as the end things that we would want to achieve. And then we start thinking about ethical principles. The idea here is that these are operationalizable rules from philosophical theory. Probably Emmanuel and Jonathan, these would be the right people to help us here, which could imply logical propositions denoting what is morally acceptable. Now, when we start thinking about morally acceptable, what does that even mean? And there's a lot of various ways to think about moral principles. I'm not going to go into details about this, but broadly, we're starting to think about normative ethical principles here. The idea here is there could be virtue ethics. We're thinking about good behavior. What a good person would do in a certain situation. That is virtue ethics. You could start thinking about behavior from consequentialism as well. Like, if you do this, this may happen. If the consequence is good, you do that behavior. And then it could be deontology. You do that behavior irrespective of what the consequence would be, or irrespective of what a good person would do. You're doing that because it is a morally accepted behavior. Now, when we start thinking about operationalizing ethics, what is the correct principle to choose? There are several principles. What would be the correct principle to choose? If you apply one principle, it could misalign with other principle. You want to start thinking about the context. What would be the correct context to use? You also want to think about consistency, scalability, power, who is making the decision. And then when we start to think about this. It is not just a moral challenge, or not a clinical challenge, but it is a system design challenge, and this is where I would want to stop. So we need more interdisciplinary solutions. Thank you.